story. Buried behind the tree. I stood beside a portico on the roof of the house. Behind me, candlelight marked the entrance to the temple. It towered above. Not many have been there, let alone climbed a few of the stairs. Even I have not been beyond the first 2 steps of the temple. There dwells the unknown. Occasionally, whispers and sounds make it through the veil, calling me. I do not answer, and I never touch the candle. It was lit before I got here and has remained so. It always burns. I dread to think what would occur if it was extinguished. A low woof, woof, woof bellowed down from above. I looked up to see a golden retriever the size of a timber wolf galloping down from the sky, his tongue hanging out, a huge doggy grin on his face. He was coming directly at me. Beyond him was the Divine Mother. She remained still, watching the dog. I could just make out a smile on her face as the dog reached me, landing softly on the stone. I bent down to greet my old friend, Mortimer. "Hello, boy." He responded by licking my face. "Good to see you too." I ruffled his ears. "Hamish?" "No, he's not returned from the temple yet." "I trust all is well." Woof. I looked up at the deity. She gave a gentle nod and disapparated. "Our next guest is on his way, and he's going to need your assistance to get through the black mist." "Woof," Mortimer responded. Tail wagging, he led us down the stone staircase, a staircase he used to struggle with when he was a pup. Now he can take 2 steps at a time effortlessly. I followed Mortimer to the front door, where as I opened it, he shot out into the mist like a dog chasing off crows on a corn farm. Screams shrieked from it as it retreated and called around him. Mortimer barked and danced around, as if he was playing in a field completely unperturbed by the black mist digging, slashing, ripping at him. It was unable to penetrate his fur. Mortimer disappeared deeper into the mist. I watched from the doorway as the black mist reverted back to its ocean state, coiling and twisting, folding in on itself. Woof, woof, grrr. "Get off me," I heard a boy's voice come from the mist. Grrr, woof, woof. Mortimer appeared, gripping a boy's sleeve in his mouth. The boy waddled after Mortimer as he guided him through the black shards and hooks and daggers the fog shot at them relentlessly. Mortimer kept a steady pace. The boy covered his face with his arm as Mortimer guided him towards the house. The boy took a step on the porch. Mortimer released his sleeve and walked inside, turning left into the lounge. "This dog saved me. I was scared." I looked at the boy, 7 years old. Pedestrian to the eyes. He could easily fit into any school in America. "Come inside, Joshua." I gestured to the lounge. The boy entered the house and went into the lounge. Mortimer was already snoozing by the fireplace. Joshua walked to the first armchair and sat down. He squiggled back into the chair until he could lean on the backrest. His feet hung off the edge. He watched me as I sat down. Eyes darted to Mortimer and then back to me. He was sizing up the area. "As long as you remain in your chair, you will be safe," I said. Joshua rested his hands by his side. "Mama said that to me at the food court, and then the woman came back and started screaming." "Did that bother you?" Joshua nodded. "Mama put me at a table and said to stay in the chair and I'll be safe. She went to Weiler's Burgers to get me a cheeseburger and fries with the orange juice. The woman at the next table left the baby in the pram and went and stood in line. Baby kept making loud noises. I told her to stop, but she wouldn't. She looked at me and made louder noises, so I shoved tissues in her mouth and held my hand over her mouth, telling her to stop it. She stopped, so I pulled the tissues out and sat down. Mama came back with our lunch. She told me to eat up, so I did. Then the woman came back and sat down with her lunch. She looked at her baby. She screamed. Mama tried to help her. She kept screaming more and more. I just watched her." Mortimer exhaled. "Rrrr." Joshua kept his eyes on me. "Is my sister here?" I shook my head. "Did Leo come here?" "Your sister and Leo are not here, Joshua. Nor is Stacy, the baby girl you met at the food court." Joshua looked at me. The space behind his eyes were bottomless. I have gazed into an empty void. This felt colder. "Is Mama here?" I shook my head once. She's mad at me, so it doesn't matter. She hates me. I don't think so, Joshua. She does, I know, because of what I did to my sister. I looked at him. He looked so small in the armchair. I'm telling you, and you better listen to me. She's mad at me. She doesn't want to see me anyhow. Black mist rolled in, slowly filling up the edges of the room. Mortimer's eyes pricked up, alerted by its coiling. Joshua tightened his grip on the armchair. Come with me. I got up. Mortimer was alert, watching. I waited for Joshua to pull himself off the chair. I took him into the waiting room that was a pale green forestry area just coming to the end of summer. The grass led to a simple house beyond a tall bendy tree. Children's laughter was heard. Mortimer barked and leapt into the room, galloping straight to the tree and disappearing beyond it. I could just make out Mortimer bouncing around with 3 children. A baby girl in a bouncer, a 3-year-old girl, and a 7-year-old boy. They appeared to be lost in fun. The pure type. This is where I used to live, Joshua said. He took a step to enter the room, but he stopped. You could go there soon, but you need to tell me what happened. Do you understand? Joshua looked at me. Eyes still vacant. He nodded. That tree is where I buried my little sister. I led Joshua back to the armchair and placed him on it. He adjusted himself as I sat down. Mama told me to watch over my little sister. Her name is Kathy. Mama was out doing errands. Pa was working in the field, so there was only me. Pa told me that I'm the man of the house when he's not there, so I need to be in charge. My sister was only little. She was playing in the room. I was watching crypt cars, but then she got up and went into the kitchen. I stopped her. She was not allowed in there. I pulled her back to the sofa. She went again, so I shouted at her. She shouted back at me, so I hit her. She fell off the sofa. I sat down to watch crypt cars. She wouldn't stop crying. I told her to stop, but she wouldn't. I got mad, so I grabbed her arm and took her out in the yard. I pushed her against the tree. Told her to stop crying or I'll leave her there. She wouldn't stop, so I picked up a rock and smashed her on the head. She fell over. I hit her head. Again. She was just lying there like Henry, our tabby cat. Pa found Henry under the porch. I helped him bury Henry near the tree. Joshua kept his eyes on me. Mortimer entered the room. He circled his area near the fireplace and sat down, head on paws, watching Joshua. Kathy's dress was dirty. Her eyes didn't close like Henry's did. I pulled her back behind the tree and got a shovel from the garage and buried her just like Henry. And then I went back in the house to finish watching crypt cars. I looked at Mortimer, who was still watching Joshua. His eye gleamed amber for a split second. A tear slid into his fur. Mama looked for Kathy when she got home. She asked me where she was, so I told her. She went mad. She ran to the tree and started digging her up. I watched her from the porch. She asked me why I did so. So I told her. She wouldn't let me watch crypt cars. What did the police say? I don't know. Mama took me to the city to stay with my aunt. Papa didn't come. Did you get to watch crypt cars there? Joshua smiled. I'd go to Leo's house and watch it there. He lived next door to my aunt. She and Mama were happy if I went to Leo's to watch it. This one time I went there, but Leo didn't want to watch anything. He wanted to play a video game. I said no. He wouldn't listen to me. I told him he'd better. He shoved me and went down into the basement to look for his PS4 wireless controller. Howls echoed up the stairs and into the lounge from the basement. They were accompanied by a taste of sulfur and a yellow hue in the air. Grrr. Mortimer stood up and watched the entrance. Joshua looked at me. We have company. Remember what I said. Stay seated and you'll be safe. The yellow hue forged together into molecules that flicked to red, growing, expanding, drawing on the light around them, darkening the room. Black mist kept coiling, excited at the edge of the room. It wafted and churned. Grrr. Mortimer growled. A deep resonance filled the room. Joshua watched the red haze expand into several towering figures with horns and black long fur. Only their eyes were yellow. Teeth protruded from their mouths. The figure at the front of the others looked at me. K-k-k. Angelus hissed. Gatekeeper, he belongs to us. Joshua, expressionless, watched the towering figure hiss at him. He remained calm. He certainly has your temperament, Angelus, but he must be allowed to decide. I looked at Joshua. Did you go down to the basement? Joshua nodded. Leo was looking in this big box of toys. He had more toys than me. He went back upstairs when he found his PS4 wireless controller, but I stopped him. I told him I wanted to watch Crypt Cars. He shoved me again, so I shoved him hard. He fell over. I took the controller from his hand and smashed him on the head. Again. He started crying, so I hit him harder. He wouldn't stop, so I shoved a teddy bear in his mouth and I held it there as I smashed him again and again. I got up after he wasn't moving. His eyes were closed. That's when the police took me and Mama. They put me in a hospital. I don't know what happened to Mama. You ready, boy? Angelus said. Remember the others playing in your backyard. You can be with them soon, if you decide to. Joshua nodded. I want to go there now. I shook my head. Take me there now. Joshua glared at me. He turned his eyes to the set of iron stokers beside the fireplace. Ha ha ha. Do it, boy. Grab it and slam the gatekeeper with it. He'll be sorry. Show him. You can do it. Angelus's voice boomed as the figures behind him echoed his words. I watched Joshua, who kept his eyes on the stokers. You are free to pick up the stoker, but then your decision has been made. You will accompany Angelus, and I'm sure he will encourage you to keep picking up the stoker. I kept my eyes on Joshua, watching, trying to see if he was thinking about it. His eyes were vacant. Eventually, you will look like him, and then he'll release you to devour others. Or you can choose to go to another place where the beings there will assist you in showing you the error of your ways. It won't be easy, but it has been done before. Take me to my house now, Joshua said. No. Joshua smiled. It was unnerving. He leapt on the ground and grabbed the stoker nearest to him. Angelus screamed as Joshua lunged at me, but Mortimer blocked his way. He stood in front of me, barking. His bark boomed, resonating in the entire house. Screams came from all over the place as the others shuddered. Joshua cowered at the sound. He stepped back. In seconds, he was enveloped by the figures. Yellow eyes gleamed as they wrapped themselves around him, squeezing him tightly. You are mine now, boy, Angelus said. Let me go. Joshua was lifted off the ground and swept out the room. I could hear him being taken down the stairs to the sub-basement. Right. First door on the left, slammed. I could not hear Joshua any longer. The funny thing was, he wasn't terrified. He wasn't scared. He just wanted to be set free. Black mist dispersed. The room was bright again, only Mortimer and I remained. I walked into the waiting room to find a chapel, the type Christians worship in. In the second pew from the front, I saw a young woman, hands clasped, head bowed. Mortimer came and stood beside me. I waited. When she saw that I was alone, tears leaked from her eyes. They looked like they had been crying for years. Will he ever get better? She said. His road is much longer now. What will happen to him? Did you know that demons were once human souls who inflicted pain without remorse? The woman gasped. Her left hand came to her mouth. I turned to walk away when Mortimer nudged my thigh. I looked down to see his deep blue eyes peering up at me. I nodded. Once again, turned to the woman. We did try to persuade him. Both Mortimer and I would have kept an eye on him in the other realm. It is not without pain that I let him go. Alas, he had made his choice, and no doubt, I'll see him again one day. I am sorry for the loss of your son. I turned and walked out the room accompanied by Mortimer. This was a tough one because I did not want to see Joshua leave with Angelus. The boy extinguished innocence at the beginning of their lives. It is worse than murdering adults who have had a chance to live. The most horrid feeling is that he had no remorse and he would do it again and again and again. This is how demons are born. Be there next Sunday at 11 and I'll introduce you to another guest. You might like this one. He was good once. Godspeed.